So every single night, we'd come off stage together, dash across the street, duck the taxis into the bar.
Hollywood's most iconic stars had more than talent. They had secrets that would chill you to the bone. Today, we're uncovering the shocking stories of Hollywood's most corrupt figures. You won't believe what these legends got away with. Number 35, Clint Eastwood. What happens when a Hollywood legend leads a double life? Clint Eastwood's affair and secrets are as shocking as his on-screen performances.
Why don't you just sit down and send out the alarm to El Paso and the rest of the towns around here and warn them, right?
But, mister, I didn't hear any shots at the bank, and I sure would have.
You might hear one.
Hollywood legend Clint Eastwood had a lax view of marital fidelity, telling Playboy that his first wife, Maggie Johnson, was a woman who knew how much room he needed. His philandering began even before they married. During their engagement, Eastwood nearly wrecked the relationship by impregnating a woman in Seattle. Johnson probably did not find out about that one because the child was adopted out to prevent scandal. Eastwood was not even aware of the child. Eastwood then had his second child in 1964 with mistress Roxanne Tunis. He did not have any children by his wife until 1968, 15 years after their wedding. They ultimately divorced in 1984, several years after Eastwood had begun a long-term affair, this time with Sandra Locke. Number 34, Hedda Hopper. Imagine having the power to destroy Hollywood careers with just a few words. Hedda Hopper reveled in this power. A failed actress, she began writing a gossip column in 1938. She quickly found success and, at the height of her popularity during the 1940s, commanded a readership of 35 million.
I've seen spectacular changes because everything Hollywood does is spectacular. So are its people, and they're part of this story. But no story has ever come out of Hollywood as spectacular as the change going on right now.
Hopper was not shy about throwing her weight around, calling herself the biatch of the world. She took delight in ruining careers and marriages with just a few sentences. Louis B. Mayer referred to this as Hedda Hell. Her favorite targets were communists and gays. As a founding member of the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Idols, MPA-PAI, she was one of the driving forces behind the Hollywood blacklist, which denied employment to people suspected of communist sympathies. Number 33, Ronald Reagan, a former president with a dark Hollywood past. Ronald Reagan's secret life will leave you speechless. Ronald Reagan is better remembered for his life in politics than his career in acting.
Call upon the scientific community, those who gave us nuclear weapons, to turn their great talents now to the cause of mankind and world peace.
But the former president was one of Tinseltown's leading men in the 1940s and 50s. One of the most cringe-inducing rumors about Reagan's time in Hollywood comes from Piper Laurie, his co-star in the 1950 drama Louisa. The actress claims that the GOP icon took her virginity when he was 39 years old and she was only 18. In her memoir, Laurie writes that she was first seduced by Reagan on the set of their film Louisa, in which he played her father. The actor was supposedly a gentleman at first and even asked Laurie's mother for permission to take her on a date. But instead of the glamorous evening the actress had pictured, Reagan instead took them both to his house. Things got stranger when Reagan led her to the bedroom. Number 32, Bob Barker. America's favorite game show host with a scandalous secret? Bob Barker's true behind-the-scene behavior is shocking. For a long time, you couldn't discuss game shows on TV without bringing up Bob Barker, the unofficial king of daytime game shows. Barker hosted The Price is Right from 1972 to 2007. And while he's long been associated with the high energy and good times of The Price is Right, there was more going on behind the scenes than most of us realized. The Price is Right has a history of using models to showcase the fabulous prizes. In 1994, model Diane Parkinson filed a lawsuit against Barker alleging sexual harassment. The suit was dropped later when Parkinson said it was taking a toll on her health. However, this suit was followed by more from model Holly Hallstrom and others. Number 31, Warren Beatty. A Hollywood playboy who set records for his conquests, Warren Beatty's shocking numbers will leave you stunned. Warren Beatty's bad boy reputation comes more from his personal life rather than his film career. Beatty was more than just a womanizer. He was a record setter.
I'd like to see you with your pants off, Mr. Reed.
Peter Biskin, the author of Star, How Warren Beatty Seduced America, estimates that the Bonnie and Clyde actor has slept with 12,775 women. Beatty reportedly claimed that he could not sleep a night unless he had intercourse. Carly Simon's chart-topping hit, You're So Vain, is allegedly about the notorious playboy. Number 30, Jerry Lewis. America's beloved comedian who was anything but a beloved father. Jerry Lewis's family secrets are truly heartbreaking. Comedian Jerry Lewis was beloved for making Americans laugh, but his family life was no laughing matter.
If you lay hand on me, do you know what I will do?
What?
I'll bleed.
He was regularly unfaithful to his wife, Patty Palmer, and reportedly cut ties with his sons after adopting a daughter with his second wife. He crowned the nasty relationship by disinheriting his sons, and he left no doubt that he meant it. I have intentionally excluded my sons and their descendants as beneficiaries of my estate, it being my intention that they shall receive no benefits hereunder. The will read via LA Times. His children were sad but not surprised by their father's actions, given the way he had treated them before. Number 29, Bert Reynolds. Hollywood's biggest star who couldn't handle his fame. Bert Reynolds' regretful confession will surprise you. Few actors were more popular than Bert Reynolds in the 1970s. He had a natural swagger about him and an easy charm.
Yeah, I found this backstage, oversized hat. It's funny.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. It's funny. It's funny because it's bigger than a normal hat.
He was also considered a symbol of desire. He had a running start on the small screen in the 1960s, and then in 1972's Deliverance, he proved he could act in movies. The late actor also gained a reputation for being hard to work with. Whenever I meet someone I worked with in the 70s or 80s, I immediately apologize because I was an ass. He said during an interview decades later, I was the biggest star in the world and I didn't handle it well. Number 28, Jack Bailey. A TV host who made women beg for what they needed. Jack Bailey's creepy show tactics will shock you. From 1945 to 1964, history says Queen for a Day gave audiences some entertainment that would be very, very uncomfortable today.
Welcome once again to Queen for a Day. You know, the crown is ready, so is the throne, so are we. And all we have to do is sort of have the ladies get up here, tell us what they want. If they're queen, then our audience makes a decision, but we can help out by talking to each one of these ladies in turn.
Host Jack Bailey would interview a panel of 4 pre-selected women who each wanted something, and at the end, the winner was chosen by audience applause. Here's where it gets creepy. Bailey was a former carnival barker, which gives an idea of his style. Timeline notes that Bailey was a master at getting the women to beg for what they needed, and if they started to cry, he'd berate them into stopping by telling them things like, "Quit shaking, what's wrong with you?" Number 27, Elizabeth Taylor. A Hollywood icon with a scandalous love life, Elizabeth Taylor's man-eating reputation is just the beginning. Speak of the devil. Aside from building a legendary career as an actress in Hollywood, she has also built a reputation for being a man-eater. She's been through 8 husbands in her 78 years.
That's not fair.
She was just a blue-eyed beauty with a sugar-sweet smile when she scored her first big role in National Velvet at the age of 12. But by 16, Liz was wowing viewers with her powerful sensuality. And as her roles got hotter, so did her off-screen romances. The bombshell had 7 different husbands, 2 of whom were married when she came into the picture. One to Debbie Reynolds, her best friend. Number 26, Richard Harris, an acclaimed actor with a dangerous temper. Richard Harris's wild antics, both on and off set, were infamous. Richard Harris was an acclaimed actor with an impressive filmography.
I will empower you to one end alone, to give power back to the people of Rome and end the corruption that has crippled it.
One of the most successful thespians of the 1960s and 70s. The Irish actor also had a reputation for getting totally drunk out of his mind and taking controlled substances.
So every single night we'd come off stage together, dash across the street, duck the taxis into the bar, and we'd be throwing back beers and beers, watching the time, making sure we got back on time for our cue, right?
Harris married Elizabeth Reese Williams in 1957. Their relationship was a tumultuous one, as Harris was known to get aggressive when he drank. He brought that rage with him on film sets as well. He garnered a reputation for being difficult to work with and rude to his fellow actors. He had a history of getting kicked out of bars. Harris became a late-night regular at a police station in West London. He nearly died of an OD in 1978. Number 25, George Reeves, Superman with a dark side? George Reeves' love triangle led to a tragic ending. Compared to Hollywood's worst offenders, original Superman George Reeves was not the worst of the bunch. In fact, he was considered a role model of sorts for America's children as a promoter of everything moral and right.
Superman doesn't smoke.
Nevertheless, according to Dean Shapiro's The Mysterious Death of Superman, Reeves' private off-screen persona was, in many ways, 180 degrees removed from the virtuous, morally upstanding character he portrayed on TV. Although Reeves was generally faithful when he was committed, once he strayed, he strayed. While he was still involved with Tony, he started sleeping with the much younger Leonore Lemon. Having allowed his lust to place him between 2 jealous and protective women, Reeves opted to marry Lemon and break up with Tony. Probably the best way to avoid worsening an already bad situation. But he did not get to enjoy the wedding as he was found dead in his bed, naked and shot in the temple execution style. Number 24, Gene Kelly, Hollywood's dancing legend with a dangerous secret. Gene Kelly's involvement with a terrorist organization is shocking. When dancer Sid Suri came home from the MGM lot covered in bruises, her husband assumed she must have worked with Gene Kelly that day. But Kelly may have done something far worse than being too rough with his co-stars. In 1970, he reportedly donated to the Provisional Irish Republic Army. He met covertly with IRA leader Cathal Golding during an underground fundraising mission in the USA and gave him a check for £20,000. Kelly reportedly told Golding, "This money is for guns. I certainly don't want it going to any do-gooders." Number 23, Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's most iconic star with scandalous affairs. Marilyn Monroe's secret lifestyle was as tragic as her end. Though she's possibly the most iconic sex symbol of all time, many of Marilyn's roles made her out to be an oblivious, ditzy blonde. But Marilyn was no fool in real life. She broke the heart of New York Yankees great Joe DiMaggio and allegedly had steamy affairs before meeting her tragic demise. Number 22, Charlie Chaplin, the king of silent films with loud secrets. Charlie Chaplin's behavior behind the camera was shocking. Sir Charles Chaplin's films were silent, but he certainly wasn't if the cast and crew didn't work up to his standards. He was well known in Hollywood as a perfectionist who would fly off the handle, become a complete jerk, and fire crew members at the drop of a bowler hat. Chaplin was married 4 times to women many years his junior. His first wife was 17 on their wedding day, and his second wife was 16. At 54, Chaplin married 18-year-old Una O'Neill, daughter of the famous playwright Eugene O'Neill. He was reportedly an abusive husband to all his wives, and he had no qualms about sleeping with other women. Number 21, William Frawley. America's beloved sitcom star with a dark side. William Frawley's behind-the-scenes reputation was shocking. I Love Lucy's William Frawley's legacy has been plagued with complaints that the comedic actor was as much of a curmudgeon off the screen as he was on it, and which is part of why he played this grumpy character so well. However, fans can brush off the fact that William was pretty much always drunk, and also didn't always get along with his co-workers. Audiences may be more hesitant to brush off the hard-to-ignore reality that William was a bit of a racist. Most also claim that he was a bit of a misogynist. While William couldn't be rude to Lucille Ball because she was his boss, he could be rude to the actress that portrayed his on-screen wife, which was Vivian Vance. Number 20, Tommy Lee Jones. A Hollywood star whose grumpy attitude wasn't just an act. Tommy Lee Jones' off-screen behavior is legendary for all the wrong reasons. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't just act like a grumpy guy, he is a grump. In fact, it's rare to find him signing an autograph or talking to journalists. While that's all fine and good, most journalists don't want to have a second movie promoting interview with him because he's known for cutting them off and walking out.
I am deeply honored, but I'm not
You
sure.
know this country. You love it. You hate it. Your thinking about it has been dead on so far. And I know you'll meet their deadline because, like me, you don't want those bastards making our decisions for us. The conclusion...
In fact, he made a reporter cry one time during an interview with GQ magazine, while literally cracking whole walnuts with his bare hands. Number 19, Lucille Ball. America's favorite funny woman who wasn't so kind in real life. Lucille Ball's true nature might surprise you. Though she was best known during her life for playing characters who were funny and down to earth, it seems like Lucille Ball was just a wonderful performer and had all of us fooled.
I didn't tell you to turn right.
You said turn right here, and I turned right.
You didn't let me finish. I was trying to tell you to turn left. What I was trying to say is you turn right here left.
Her sense of humor and good nature appeared to end the moment the camera stopped rolling. Ball was notoriously rude to anyone who didn't share her celebrity status. Once on an airplane, she completely ignored a flight attendant, instead having her assistant say, "I'm sorry, Miss Ball doesn't speak to the help." Number 18, Mickey Rooney. A Hollywood legend with a shocking history of exploitation, Mickey Rooney's dark side included some truly disturbing behavior.
Oh, tell me, could you use me?
Hollywood journalist Craig Bennett makes even more shocking allegations in his 2019 book, True Confessions of a Shameless Gossip. Bennett characterized the actor as abrasive, nasty, curt, and rude, and claims that Rooney's lengthy list of sexual conquests, including bedding a 14-year-old Elizabeth Taylor on the set of National Velvet when he was 24. Bennett also claims Rooney almost wore out the casting couch, auditioning young actresses for roles that didn't exist. If it's any consolation, it's widely believed that many of Rooney's claims were either exaggerated or completely false. Number 17, Milton Berle. Comedy's original bad boy who crossed too many lines. Milton Berle's behavior earned him a lifetime ban from SNL. Uncle Milty earned a lifetime ban from hosting NBC's Saturday Night Live. When he guest hosted in 1979, Berle attempted to take control of the entire show during rehearsals, upstaged his fellow cast members, and recycled old comedy bits. Lorne Michaels tried to keep the show from being rerun, but copies of the show surfaced in 2003. In this case, this Hollywood star's jerk behavior impacted other people's work. Number 16, Bing Crosby. A beloved crooner with a dark side at home, Bing Crosby's harsh parenting led to a tragic legacy. Bing Crosby's oldest son, Gary, authored the 1983 tell-all biography Going My Own Way, and claimed the crooner handled most disciplinary issues with a stern lecture and a studded leather belt. Gary Crosby was also punished when his brothers acted up, and the discipline didn't stop at spanking. Housekeepers allegedly gave the children the drowning treatment in the bathtub if they heard them talking in bed or if they woke up too early. 2 of Crosby's children suffered from depression and eventually committed suicide. Number 15, John Wayne. The Duke of Hollywood with shocking beliefs. John Wayne's views and statements are jaw-dropping even today. John Wayne was known for his ultra-conservative views, but many people don't know that he referred to himself as both a socialist and a liberal early in his career.
Not till Austin separates the sheep from the goats. Not till he decides who's on the right side. Republic. I like the sound of the word.
John Wayne supported Barry Goldwater for president in 1964 after the Arizona senator voted against the Civil Rights Act, and he made his most controversial remarks in the May 1971 issue of Playboy. Wayne said he believed in white supremacy and didn't support African Americans holding office until they could be educated to a point of responsibility. Wayne also publicly denounced homosexuality. He considered Suddenly Last Summer too disgusting, even for discussion, and claimed Midnight Cowboy was perverse. Number 14, Steven Seagal. An action star notorious for mistreating everyone on set. Steven Seagal's reputation is worse than you might think. Steven Seagal is a major piece of work, despite the love for him as an action film star.
You never answered my question. I'll ask you again. If you thought you could save the world, but nobody would know it, and you might have to give your life in doing it, would you do it? My life?
He's notoriously difficult to work with, which seems like the one thing that an actor should be really, really good at. Even the creator and producer of SNL called him one of the worst hosts the show has ever had. Seagal is also incredibly rude to his stuntmen and is known for kicking them between the legs. A little childish, no? Number 13, Walt Disney. The man behind the magic with a disturbing dark side. Walt Disney's racism and sexism are shocking. He created Mickey Mouse, so how bad could Walt Disney really be? Pretty bad, as it turns out. He was more Wicked Witch than Snow White. Walt certainly had his racist side, and not just because he let Song of the South happen. He was reportedly the kind of person to, in meetings, refer to the Seven Dwarfs as a N-word pile, which isn't just terrible, it doesn't make any sense. He also used terms like pickaninny in meetings, which was an old-time and offensive term for black children. Don't ever use it. Then there was his issue with women. He didn't trust women or cats. In his own words, women do not do anything of the creative work, as that work is performed entirely by young men. Number 12, Bill Cosby. America's favorite TV dad turned into a predator? Bill Cosby's true nature stunned the world. Bill Cosby may have completely fallen from grace by this point, but for years he was one of America's beloved TV dads. At this point, Cosby has been accused of sexual assault by more than 60 women, with some of their stories dating all the way back to the 1970s. Justice may not be perfect, but it seems like he's finally getting a little bit of what he deserved, even if he deserved much worse. In 2018, he was convicted of 3 counts and sentenced to up to 10 years in prison. That's a start, we guess. Number 11, Alec Guinness. A beloved British icon with a secret controlling streak. Alec Guinness's private life was far from classy. The original Obi-Wan Kenobi, Alec Guinness, was one of British biggest screen icons.
But I mean, how did you come to be involved with a piece of science fiction like that?
Well, it arrived as a script. I was just finishing a picture in Hollywood another day to go, and the script arrived on my dressing table.
Classy, understated, able to blend perfectly into any part. He was the quintessential Englishman. At least on screen he was. Off-screen, Guinness was a bizarre control freak who wouldn't let anyone make their own decisions and spent his every waking hour seeking to undermine his long-suffering wife. Number 10, Roman Polanski. A brilliant director who committed unforgivable crimes, Roman Polanski's criminal past is truly horrifying. Famed Paris-born actor and director Roman Polanski makes the cut for drugging and raping 13-year-old Samantha Geimer and allegedly assaulting 16-year-old actress Charlotte Lewis. Polanski had invited Geimer to model for the French edition of Vogue in 1977. During the second shoot, he plied her with alcohol and quaaludes, then raped and sodomized her. Following this despicable act, Polanski was arrested. Instead of confiscating his passport, however, as any competent authority would have done, he was allowed to travel first to London and then France. French law protected him from extradition because the country did not extradite citizens accused of crimes abroad. He knew it too, bragging to writer Martin Amis in 1979 that his crime was justified because everyone, including the judge and jury, wanted to have sex with young girls. Instead of quitting while he was ahead, Polanski then allegedly raped Charlotte Lewis in his Paris apartment in 1983. She sued him for defamation for claiming in a 2019 interview that she lied about the assault. Number 9, William Shatner. The sci-fi legend with a reputation for being difficult, William Shatner's behavior made him infamous among his co-stars. William Shatner's Comedy Central roast was so good because it gave stars the chance to express pent-up rage they've had for years at this alleged Hollywood grouch. It turns out that while on the set of Star Trek, most of his co-stars hated him because he behaved so badly towards all of them.
You personally are assuming command?
Yeah.
May I ask why?
My experience.
He garnered the name Captain Jerk for not showing up to Leonard Nimoy's funeral. It's not the most creative mean nickname, but it definitely gets its point across. Number 8, Chevy Chase. The comedy icon who is far from funny behind the scenes. Chevy Chase's attitude ruined his career. It hurts us to say that Chevy Chase is a nasty individual. He's not the lovable and hilarious goofball that he's tried to convince us he is. He has a reputation for being a complete jerk, and even his co-stars from SNL hate him as host because he acts rudely towards everyone. And his bad behavior and bad reputation didn't end when he left Saturday Night Live. It basically followed him throughout his entire career, which seems to be done for good these days. Number 7, Bette Davis. An acting legend with a temper that could level cities. Bette Davis's mood swings were the stuff of legend. She was one of the last screen goddesses. But get on the wrong side of Bette Davis, and she was able to detonate with all the force of 1,000 classy A-bombs.
You disgust me.
Me? I disgust you. You.
Her mood could turn on a dime. Writing in Vanity Fair, the producer William Fry recalled meetings with the star that began well, only to end in the social equivalent of Armageddon. One time, Davis and Fry were meeting the director Herschel Dougherty for a meal when Dougherty made the mistake of wagging his finger in Davis's face. As Fry recalls it, Davis unleashed such a tirade on the director that she managed to clear out half the restaurant. Immediately afterward, she snapped back to being her usual self like nothing had happened. Legendary as Davis's temper was, her obsessive attention to detail was almost equally notorious. Finally, there was her endless feud with Joan Crawford. Not to rehash every detail, but Davis once spent an entire movie manipulating the crew to get Crawford fired. In a scheme Machiavelli himself would have thought too Machiavellian. Number 6. Joan Crawford. A glamorous star with a horrifying dark side at home? Joan Crawford's cruel behavior was revealed in a shocking book. Outwardly, Joan Crawford seemed like a woman living the dream. She was a 3-time Oscar-nominated actress. She gave to charitable causes, adopted 5 children into her home. On the wild side, she had a steamy one-night stand with Marilyn Monroe, proving that real life can do better than slash fiction on the internet. Inwardly, though, Crawford wasn't as wonderful as she seemed. According to her adopted daughter, Christina, she was an egomaniac who was consumed by jealousy. The accusations came the year after Crawford died when Christina published her infamous book, Mommy Dearest, via The Guardian. An account of her time as Crawford's ward, it made the Hollywood star sound like the mother from hell. Number 5. Wallace Beery. An old Hollywood star with psychopathic tendencies? Wallace Beery's shocking behavior off-screen was disturbing. 1930s Hollywood icon Wallace Beery ranks perhaps among the worst of the Hollywood industry, and not just because he might have been involved in the death of Ted Healy. His behavior toward his first wife, Gloria Swanson, was nothing short of psychopathic.
With me from now on, or I'm going to break that pretty little neck of yours just like it was a...
17-year-old Swanson married Beery in 1916 on an on-the-fly wedding at the house of a minister whose dinner they had interrupted. Swanson was living her childhood dream, according to her 1980 memoir, Swanson on Swanson. When Wally put the ring on my finger, I remembered my first real ring, which Daddy had given me when I was 7. As a child, I had turned the tiny pearl around in my hand and pretended I was married. The honeymoon atmosphere, however, ended on their wedding night when Beery assaulted her. Number 4, Marlon Brando. A Hollywood legend with a rebellious streak, Marlon Brando's behavior was as wild as his performances. One of the film industry's most famous actors and rebels, Marlon Brando was a mountain of a man who made his voice heard as much through his magnetic presence as through his scandalous on-set antics. Whether he was riling up directors or breaking the nose in fights, one thing was for sure, Marlon Brando was a true Hollywood bad boy. Number 3, Stan Laurel. A comedy legend with a violent side? Stan Laurel's shocking personal life was far from funny. Laurel and Hardy was a double act in the early days of classic Hollywood. Hardy was the bully, and Laurel was the bumbling straight man.
Shh! What's the matter? Narcissus is in my bed. Well, why don't you get her out? Well, I tried to, but he doesn't pay any attention to me, so that's why I came and slept over here. Well, what are we whispering about?
Off-screen, however, Stan Laurel was a violent alcoholic, and this became known when he went through his 3rd divorce. Vera Shavalova claimed that her husband had threatened her with a gun, and it was printed that her friends once had to intervene when Laurel dug a grave in their backyard while proclaiming that he was going to bury her alive. Good God! The only thing that ultimately suppressed this scandal was the fact that Shavalova was forbidden from talking about or publishing anything about her marriage to Laurel when she signed their divorce agreement. Amazing how people have made up stuff to make scandals more enticing when we have something like this to work with. Number 2, Frank Sinatra. A music and movie icon who was as ruthless as he was talented.
I've been up and down and over and out, but I know one thing. Each time I find myself...
Frank Sinatra's feuds were legendary. While we could list off the many documented instances of Frank Sinatra being a temperamental SOB to his valets, reporters, wives, and friends, we'll let you look those up in your own time and instead focus on a story where Sinatra faced a little comeuppance for once. Acting opposite Marlon Brando in a 1955 musical, Sinatra mocked Brando's new method acting as crap and even nicknamed Brando Mumbles for his manner of speech, Brando got his revenge by intentionally blowing takes in a scene where Sinatra's character was eating cheesecake. This forced Sinatra to eat so much cheesecake that he had a furious breakdown where he threw his plate into the air while screaming at a presumably snickering Brando. Number 1. Errol Flynn. A swashbuckling star with a wicked reputation, Errol Flynn's adventures off-screen were as scandalous as they come. "I've been in rebellion against God and government ever since I can remember," wrote Australian-born actor Errol Flynn in his autobiography, My Wicked, Wicked Life. The 1940s old Hollywood actor, by his own admission, was a scoundrel, and he started young. He got involved with a wealthy married woman named Madge Parks while he was engaged to another woman. While he knew what he was doing was wrong, he explicitly said in his autobiography that he didn't care. Sex was irresistible, but he realized there was no future for him with Parks. Instead of exiting like a gentleman, however, he repaid her attention by stealing a bunch of her jewelry after a romp and making out like a bandit for Europe. Flynn went on a world tour in the company of a Dutch doctor doing all sorts of seedy things. In the Philippines, they rigged cockfights by poisoning rival roosters. But when he got to Macau, Flynn got a taste of his own medicine when a woman got him high on opium at a casino and scammed him out of his money. Hollywood stardom did not stop the behavior, which turned into juvenile pranks gone mad. In one case, he stuffed starlet Olivia de Havilland's underwear with a dead snake. She disliked him after that day, even though he claimed he was just trying to show affection. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's dark side, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more shocking stories. Don't miss out. Check out our other videos on Hollywood scandals and secrets right here. Click on one and keep the drama rolling.